Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to cut through all the noise to explore what science actually says about happiness, and, more importantly, how you can use what we've learned in your own life.
So let's start with a problem that I'm sure a lot of us have faced. There's so much advice out there on how to be happy, and a lot of it seems to contradict itself. It can really feel like you're lost in a maze.
You know, we're constantly hearing about these simple tricks or life hacks that are supposed to completely transform our well-being. But how much of that popular advice is actually backed by solid scientific evidence? Let's dig in. I mean, we've all seen lists just like this before, right? These are some of the most common tips you hear. Practice gratitude, be more social, get some exercise. They all sound pretty good. But the real question is, do they actually work according to rigorous research?
And this is where the data gets really interesting. A major review in 2023, published in the journal Nature Human Behavior, looked at the evidence for a lot of these popular strategies. And what they found was, well, the evidence was surprisingly thin. This tells us that to really get a handle on well-being, we need a more nuanced approach.
Okay, so if those common tips are on shaky ground, we kind of have to go back to square one. Before we can figure out what makes people happier, we first have to understand what researchers even mean when they use the word happiness.
So the first piece of the puzzle is what's known as hedonic well-being. This is pretty much what we all think of as feeling happy. It's that experience of pleasure, of positive emotions, the joy of a good laugh with a friend, or the simple satisfaction of a great meal.
Then there's the second, much deeper layer, eudaimonic well-being. Now, this isn't so much about pleasure in the moment. It's about finding meaning, feeling like you have a purpose, and experiencing personal growth. This is that sense of flourishing that comes from living a life you truly value.
And the last piece of this is prudential well-being, which is basically just life satisfaction. This is your own personal big-picture assessment. It's when you step back and ask yourself that huge question, all things considered, how is my life going?
Okay, so we've got these three different parts of well-being. To help make sense of how they all fit together, let's use a simple but really powerful analogy that researchers find helpful: the well-being garden.
The research suggests it's way more helpful to think of happiness not as some finish line you cross, but as a garden. It's this living, breathing thing that you have to actively and consistently take care of over time.
So, in this garden of yours, the flowers, those represent the fleeting joys of hedonic well-being. They're beautiful, but they're temporary. The trees, those are the deep-rooted meaning and purpose of eudaimonic well-being. They provide structure, and they grow over years. And the soil, well, that represents the foundation for everything, your social relationships, and a sense of harmony in your life. It's what nourishes everything else.
All right, so we've got this garden framework for understanding happiness. Now let's turn to the evidence. What tools does science actually say can help us tend to our own well-being gardens?
In the research world, these evidence-based techniques have a name. They're called positive psychology interventions, or PPIs for short. And these are specific, targeted exercises that have been scientifically tested to see if they actually improve well-being.
And we're not just talking about a couple of studies here. There's a ton of evidence. Meta-analysis covering more than 200 randomized controlled trials, which is the gold standard in research, show they can lead to real, measurable improvements in happiness and even reductions in depressive symptoms. Now, one of the most important findings from all this research is that programs that combine several different techniques tend to work much better than just doing one thing by itself. It makes sense, right? It's the difference between only watering your garden versus also making sure you have good soil and fertilizer.
You can see that there are a lot of these evidence-based approaches. Things like gratitude, mindfulness, and working on your sense of purpose all have solid backing. But I really want to draw your attention to that last one. This single factor that shows up again and again as one of the strongest predictors of well-being is the quality of our social relationships, the very soil of our garden. Looking forward, researchers are exploring some really cool new ways to deliver these techniques, like through smartphone apps or even virtual reality. Now, the evidence for these new methods is still coming in, but these technologies could make these proven interventions so much more accessible to so many more people.
So what's the bottom line here? After we've looked at the definitions, the garden analogy, and all the evidence, what's the most important thing to take away from all this research on living a happy life?
The research is crystal clear on this. A happy life isn't something you just find. It's something you build, something you create. It's the result of consistent effort, of nurturing your relationships, engaging in meaningful activities, and striking a balance between pleasure and purpose.
So instead of asking, how can I find happiness?
Maybe a more powerful and more scientifically sound question is this: what small thing can I do today to cultivate more well-being in my life?